everyone. And hope you've been doing great. Hope you've been enjoying the month of July. Hope you didn't miss us too much in Amogate Radio Communications. We missed you. We miss doing this with you week after week, day after day. And it's such a joy, such a delight to be back. After our 2-week break, we take a quarterly break to rest and to be renewed and to be refreshed so we can come back to you better and greater. My name is Tolu Omodara, and I'm excited to be starting this new series this quarter with you. And the title is Roadmap to Organizational Strategy. I repeat, Roadmap to Organizational Strategy. You really want to fasten your belts. You want to pull up your loins and you want to get ready for a most exciting, enriching, illuminating, and of course, also quite empowering time, to be honest, right? Trust me, we know a lot about this topic. We've done it for over a decade and a half. We've helped private sector organizations, public sector organizations, locally, internationally, multinational organizations. Think about it. We've helped a lot of organizations at all levels, non-profit organizations, create unique organizational strategies that are well crafted to the peculiarities of their industries. And we've done this excellently over time. We've also taught it. I've lost count of the number of organizational strategy sessions, capacity building sessions that we've had, right? We are very good at this. I'm talking locally and internationally, from continent to continent, nation to nation. We teach this because we are very, very good at it. So we've handled this a lot at the consulting level. We've equally handled it at the capacity building level. And we know what we're talking about. Directing and managing organizational strategy, and everything that has to do with strategy articulation, strategy implementation, strategy monitoring and evaluation, strategy reinvention are things that we are very deep and broad and vast in. Therefore, we say with all sense of humility that we are coming to you from a very rich reservoir of knowledge and insights and expertise. And we are honestly very, very glad to be beginning this series this quarter with you. And so we are starting this new series called Roadmap to Organizational Strategy today, Tuesday, July 16, 2024. And it's a joy, it's a delight, it's a pleasure, and it's a privilege to be bringing this to you. Now, let me say a couple of things very, very quickly, just to kind of paint a picture of the next couple of months, right? Roadmap to Organizational Strategy. When we talk about a roadmap, right, and we talk about strategy, as I was preparing for this topic, for this particular episode, it occurred to me that this is like talking about a roadmap within a roadmap. I repeat, it's like talking about a roadmap within a roadmap. Because the word strategy itself suggests the roadmap. When you're strategizing, you're trying to create a roadmap to a destination, right? And so to be saying we are going to show you the roadmap to strategy, roadmap to organizational strategies, like we're showing you the roadmap to the roadmap, is like the hidden insight within an insight. Right? So let's show you the roadmap to the roadmap to the roadmap. Permit my tautology. Let's show you, let's kind of paint a picture of the next couple of months, right? Of the next series, right? The next series of weeks, the next succession of weeks. Let's show you a roadmap to the roadmap to roadmap. In other words, let's paint a picture of the next couple of months, right? When we'll be discussing roadmap to organizational strategy. So first of all, we'll be looking at what is strategy. Very, very, very important. It's important to lay the foundation of this program, the foundation of this series by, honestly, in a way, demystifying strategy. Taking the mystery away from strategy. Because for some, when they hear the word strategy, it looks so unreachable. It looks so nebulous. It feels so, inarticulate if you're not careful. Like, how exactly do you articulate it? Right? What exactly is strategy? How do you touch strategy? How do you articulate strategy? How do you craft strategy? Is it not for the very, very, very enlightened and those at the very top of the organization? Yes, it's true. Strategy is rests significantly on the loins, rests significantly on the shoulder. Let me put it that way. Is a responsibility that rests significantly on the shoulders of leadership. However, effective leadership know that when it comes to strategy, you should learn how to co-create. It's actually one of the tricks, one of the keys, one of the triggers, right, to a successful strategy. If you want to really create a strategy that is likely to get implemented, one that will not hang on the shelves and will not just be in your files and will not just be a document, but I will actually guide action, right? That will actually align operational activities in an organization and ensure that there's a synchronization across continents, across nations, across departments, wherever you may be as an organization, wherever you may be seemingly scattered. If you want to ensure a genuine cohesion, which is what an effectively crafted strategy should be. It should be a unifying fulcrum, so to say. If you want to achieve that, then it is important, as much as possible, the strategy should have been co-created in the first instance, as much as possible. And so I come back to the need to demystify strategy. If we are going to ensure that there is strategy co-creation, the strategy, as much as possible, is a cohesive effort, is a collective effort, so that it can truly guide organizational activities across board, then it's important that we take the mystery out of strategy so that those who will be co-creating strategy with top leadership are empowered to know exactly what strategy is. We have to begin by demystifying strategy. What is organizational strategy, therefore, becomes the very first topic we will be taking in the course of this program. What is strategy? And from there, we'll go to why strategy. I repeat, why strategy? So now that we know, after we know what strategy is, the other question to ask ourselves is why bother ourselves with strategy, right? Quote and unquote, why engage in strategy? Why indulge in strategy? Why invest in strategy? Why why spend a lot of time? What exactly are the benefits of strategy? So we're going to start from what is strategy, and from there we will go to why strategy. Why exactly do we need to do strategy? In other words, what are the benefits of doing strategy? What are the benefits to understanding strategy? What are the benefits of equipping our people, leadership at all levels, and to an extent, even the followership, responsible followership? What are the benefits of helping them, equipping them to understand how to contribute to the strategic process in an organization? Why strategy? So we go from what is strategy to why strategy. Of course, we then go to the how of strategy. I repeat, the how of strategy. Okay, now we know what strategy is, Tolu. Now we know why we need to engage in strategy, why we need to take the mystery out of strategy, why we need to empower as many levels as possible in the organization to effectively carry out strategy. How then do we do strategy? So we go from there to the how of strategy. What are the dynamics / nuances of strategy development? I repeat, what are the dynamics / nuances of strategy development? If you listen well to that, you will see that we do not just speak about we do not just want to speak about strategy academically. We do not just want to speak about strategy theoretically, which is part of the process. Definitely, we are going to probably share some concepts of strategy, but we want to go deep. We want to take a deep dive into the nuances and the dynamics, the intricacies of strategy development, right? After the what is strategy and why strategy, we will now go into the how, the delicate how of strategy, the intricacies, how do you weave this tapestry of strategy? What are some of I don't want to use the word practical, because sometimes, to be honest, strategy is not always seemingly practical. There is a part of strategy that can be highly conceptual, but how then do you even practicalize the conceptual? How do you practicalize the process of conceptualizing? How do you bridge the gap between conceptualization and practicalization? Because normally strategy can be highly conceptual. So how then do we make this as practical as possible? How do we practicalize this, the conceptual? And that is where we'll be looking at the nuances / the dynamics of strategies, the intricacies of strategy, the steps to take to strategy, right? I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. I am thoroughly enjoying myself. This is the introductory episode to Roadmap to Organizational Strategy, and my name is Tolu Omodara. Very glad to be back with you on Amogate Radio Communications on the new quarter, on the program for this quarter called Roadmap to Organizational Strategy, and we are having an introductory episode. So let's continue. Again, we're giving the overview, so to say. right? The overview of the next couple of months, as it were, right? So when we go from what is strategy to why strategy, and we try to explore the nuances and the intricacies, the dynamics of strategy development, which is the how of strategy, very simply, the how of strategy, we'll then begin to touch some topics that sort of explore some broad aspects, right? Or some broad concepts that we have to factor into strategy development, especially in today's world, right? So we're going to look at the role of technology in 21st century strategy. The role of technology in 21st century strategy. If you're going to be a competitive organization, a competitive private sector organization, or a responsive public sector organization, you cannot but know how to deploy technology, beg your pardon. You cannot but know how to deploy technology to maximize the benefits of strategy. I repeat, if you're going to be a very competitive private sector organization or a highly responsive public sector, a highly effective and responsive public sector organization, public sector institution in today's world, in the 21st century, in the world that we are, you cannot talk strategy today without talking technology. So we are going to also look at the role of technology in 21st century strategy. And this is still part of the how of strategy. How do you take data-informed decisions? How do you observe market trends? How do you do evidence-based policy? These are things that technology significantly enables in 21st century. So we have to look at the role of technology in 21st century strategy. We may have one or two guests when we get to that episode, experts in the field of technology, especially those that also understand the bridge between technology and strategy, right? So we're going to look at using technology to enable strategy. The role of technology in 21st century, we'll now look at how to use technology to enable strategy. So the first of that sub part of the program can look broadly at the role of technology in the 21st century strategy. And then we'll now look a little bit more specifically at using technology to enable strategy development, right? So we're going to look at what is the correlation or the connections, the association, the point of association between technology and 21st century strategy generally. That's from strategy development to strategy implementation, to strategy monitoring, to strategy implementation, right? From strategy development, take note, to strategy implementation, to strategy monitoring, and number 4, strategy evaluation, right? And we can also wrap it up with strategy reinvention. That's looking at technology and how it intersects with every aspect of the strategy cycle, right? Then after that, we will then look very, very specifically at using technology to enable strategy development. To be honest with you, permit me to say this, much as the whole strategy cycle, take note of that word, cycle, much as the whole strategy cycle goes from the development to the implementation, to the monitoring, to the evaluation, and finally, like the reinvention, right? Much as the core of the cycle can be said to be development, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation, the DIME cycle, DIME, the DIME cycle, right? That's a concept unique to us in Amogate, the DIME strategy cycle, from development to implementation to monitoring and evaluation. So much as the whole strategy framework or the whole strategy cycle can be described as DIME, the most strategic, now permit my tautology, the most strategic part of the strategy cycle can be said to be strategy development. I repeat, the most strategic part of the strategic management cycle, so to say, the most strategic part of the strategic management cycle, the most strategic part of the strategy cycle as a whole can be said to be the strategy development itself, the strategy articulation itself. Therefore, after looking at the role of technology in 21st century strategy broadly, right, having looked at how technology intersects with each aspect of the DIME cycle, we will then we'll take a deeper look. We'll zoom our lens in on how do you use technology to enable strategy development very, very specifically. We're going to be focusing a whole lot on the first leg in strategy of the strategic management cycle, which is strategy articulation or strategy development specifically, right? Very, very specifically, right? After then, we may delve a little bit around strategy and the other, technology and the other aspects of the strategic management cycle. But we would, especially evaluation, the E of the DIME, right? We may also look a little bit closely at how do you use technology to enable strategy evaluation, but our focus, to be honest, would be on the foundation, because a poorly developed strategy cannot be excellently executed. I repeat, a poorly developed strategy cannot be excellently executed. In other words, the development aspect of the strategy is the foundation. You have to have a well-crafted and a soundly articulated strategy before you begin to talk about execution. And that's not to undermine the role of execution, right? Because remember what I also said some minutes ago, no matter how beautifully crafted your strategies, you don't want it lying on the shelves or in a file on your computer. Ultimately, the essence of strategy creation is strategy execution. I repeat, the essence of strategy creation ultimately is strategy execution. The point of articulating that strategy, the essence of creating that beautiful strategy ultimately is to execute it. Nevertheless, the foundation still remains strategy creation. A poorly developed strategy, a poorly articulated strategy, a poorly crafted strategy cannot be excellently executed. So that's why our focus, after looking at the role of technology in 21st century strategy broadly, we will now focus a little bit, significantly more on using technology, to enable strategy development. Then we may also look at strategy and strategy evaluation and technology, right? Technology and strategy evaluation, because technology has a lot of role to play in the evaluation of strategy to after implementation. The program is still Roadmap to Organizational Strategy on Amogate Radio Communications. My name remains Tolu Omodara. It's a joy, it's a pleasure, it's a privilege to be back with you after our 2-week quarterly break. We missed you, and we hope you missed us as much as we missed you. We are excited to be back with you on this great station, Amogate Radio Communications. Well, so let me continue with this roadmap. Remember, I'm giving us the roadmap to the roadmap. The program's title is Roadmap to Organizational Strategy, and I'm showing us the roadmap to the roadmap. I'm painting a picture of the next couple of months, right? So after we look at that, we'll then look at strategy implementation specifically, right? So we're going to be looking at the specifics of strategy implementation. I repeat, the specifics of strategy implementation. So we'll have dwelt enough on strategy articulation, we'll have looked at technology and the role it plays in strategy articulation, we'll have looked at the D of the DIME cycle. How do you develop strategy, right? Very, very important. But like I said, ultimately, the essence of strategy development is strategy execution or strategy implementation. So we would then have to look at the specifics of strategy implementation. The specifics of strategy implementation. What are the factors that impact strategy implementation? What are the challenges that sometimes that we confront in the course of attempting to implement a strategy? No matter how beautifully crafted it has been, are there still some unique challenges that attend execution? Are there still some specific problems that we could encounter in the course of executing even the best of articulated strategy, even the most excellently articulated strategies? What are some of the implementation challenges, and what are the implementation enablers too? We don't just want to look at challenges. What are the implementation enablers? What are the things that could by default enable strategy execution? So we're going to be looking at the specifics of strategy implementation. From there, we will now go to the monitoring and evaluation of strategy. That's the M and the E. Remember, the DIME cycle. So we've gone from development to implementation. We'll now begin to talk about monitoring strategy across the organization. I repeat, monitoring strategy across the organization. That's now just looking at it from the top, which that can be pretty easy if you're not careful, pretty much easier than evaluating or monitoring strategy across the entire organization. especially if it's a large organization, if it's a multinational organization, if it's an intercontinental organization. You want to ensure that you are monitoring strategy effectively, because you can't even talk about evaluation until you talk about monitoring. So we're going to talk about, monitoring strategy across the organization. How do you monitor strategy effectively during the course of implementation? And then when you have allowed implementation run its course for a period, eventually, and you have gathered enough data, enough monitoring data, you now evaluate the strategy process, right? You now do your evaluation of strategy, right? The evaluation of the strategy process that has gone ahead, right? And of course, we would go from the E, right, to the, if you want, you can call it our DIMA cycle. We like to call it our DIME cycle because the heart of it is the DIME, the development, the implementation, the monitoring, and the evaluation. But you may want to add the R where it becomes our DIMA cycle, because the reason why you are monitoring and evaluating is so that you can reinvent. What do you do with the lessons learned? How do you improve on what has been developed initially? How do you re-strategize? I want to believe you've heard that word before. If you are not, please get familiar with it. It's probably a word you'll be hearing a lot on this program. You must learn to re-strategize, right? You must learn to look at what is working, what is not working, what are the lessons learned, where did we miss it, what are the things we have to reinvent, right? And all of those things come from the monitoring and the evaluation, right, after the process of implementation. And that episode we would call the basics of strategy review and reinvention. The basics of strategy reinvention largely. What are the basics of strategy reinvention? Well, we'll be wrapping up this introductory episode where we've tried to paint a roadmap to the roadmap. We've tried to create a picture of the next couple of months. We've tried to show you how we will be proceeding, right? And another thing we would look at is using strategy to navigate the interconnected nature of modern business economy. Using strategy to navigate the interconnected nature of modern business economy. And of course, there's a lot to that, but that's part of that is part of the how of strategy, right? And is also part of the why of strategy. That is part of what we'll be doing in one of our earlier episodes, right? Especially for the private sector organizations, the modern business economy is highly interconnected. There are so many factors that come to play. The political factor has a significant role to play in the modern business economy. I just alluded to the technological factor. Whether you like it or not, there are also social factors that come to play. So many things impact the modern business economy. It's a complex organism, so to say. My colleague Jayoba was talking about organizational behavior in the program we started yesterday, Leadership Competence Organizational Behavior, and she was talking about the complexity of some organisms. Trust me, the modern business economy is a complex and is one of the most complex organisms, right? So if you want to think about the modern business economy as an organism, it's a highly complex organism, and that's part of what informs the why of organizational strategy. Part of why you need to do strategy is because the modern business economy is a highly complex organism. That's part of why we need to do strategy. That's part of the why of strategy. So we're going to look at using strategy to navigate the interconnected nature of the modern business economy. This may be a kind of wrap-up session, right? Having gone through the DIME cycle, right? It may be some kind of a wrap-up session. Want to highlight the lessons we've learned throughout the program, then to reinforce the need for strategy, right? As we wrap up, we want to still reinforce it, even as we say goodbye, right, about the end of September. Even as we say goodbye, we still want to hammer in the point of strategy, the why of strategy. We want to, demonstrate the complexity of the highly interconnected modern business economic space, right? Global economic space, not just at the local level. The global economic space is highly complex, right? But strategy can help you to navigate this highly complex and very interconnected organism called the modern business economy. So we may use this to ram home the point, so to say, to drive home the point we were making from the beginning of the program, and perhaps to also lay the foundation for strategy reinvention in terms of the actual practice, because we expect you to go back to practice some of the things we have said. So for some of you that have gotten the lessons of development and implementation and monitoring and evaluation, we may want to now, kind of lay the foundation for strategy reinvention, which is more like starting the whole cycle again. That's basically what reinvention means. It means you start your D again, and your I and your M and your E. So we may also want to lay the foundation for strategy reinvention by looking at how to use strategy to navigate the interconnected nature of the modern business economy. Well, it's on this note that we will be drawing a curtain on today's edition of the program, which is the introductory session of Roadmap to Organizational Strategy. Remember, we're painting the picture of the next couple of months, and we are going to go from what is strategy to why strategy, right? In other words, the benefit of organizational strategy, to the how of strategy, right? The how of strategy, that is the dynamics and nuances of strategy development. Then we're going to look at the role of technology in 21st century strategy broadly. Then we're going to drive in, hone in, H-O-N-E, we're going to zoom in on using technology to enable strategy development, the D of the DIME cycle, our DIME cycle, strategy development. Then we now go to the I of this DIME cycle, that's implementation, right? There we are going to be talking about the specifics of strategy implementation. Then we go to M, right? Monitoring strategy across the organization. Monitoring strategy across the organization to ensure that no matter how large your organization is, you are monitoring consistently, and you are also monitoring, wholesomely. You're not leaving any significant part of the organization or of your operations out, right? Then we will now look at evaluation, and there we may also go back a little bit to technology, because technology has a strong role to play in today's world, can be very enabling of strategy evaluation. And then so we'll now look at the basics of strategy reviewing and reinvention, right? The basic of, because the whole point of evaluating is to reinvent, and then we will finally hammer that home by talking about using strategy to navigate the interconnected nature of the modern business economy, which is basically laying the foundation again for strategy reinvention, even as we wrap up the program. This is where we draw the curtain on the edition of the program, the introductory edition of this program, Roadmap to Organizational Strategy on Amoge Radio Communications. Today, Tuesday, July 16, 2024. It's been a joy, it's been a delight to be your host on this first edition of the program, and I look forward to a very exciting quarter. We've laid the roadmap, and we can't wait to begin next week the major first episode after this introductory episode, which will be what is strategy. Thank you very, 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 very much for doing this with us. We love doing this with you. We can't wait to plunge into the rest of the program, and we look forward to working with you. Remember, we are experts at strategy. That's the truth. The whole cycle is our comfort, to a large extent, our comfort zone. We don't get complacent, but we are very good at this. Please call us to work with you to develop your strategy, to assess your strategy issues, whether you're having issues with the development or the implementation, or you simply want to do some evaluation, or you're at the point of reinvention. Please call us to work with you. We also do trainings locally, internationally. We can arrange trainings for your teams in wherever you want it, in Africa, in Europe, in America, in the Middle East, UAE. These are things we've done locally and internationally. We can have workshops, capacity building programs, intense retreats, strategy retreats. We've done this across the public, the private, the non-profit sector, across nations and continents, and we look forward to doing this with you. Thank you so much again for being with us. You can reach us on Facebook, you can reach us on LinkedIn, you can reach us on Instagram, you can send an email to us, contact@theamogate.org. You can also check out our website, www.theamogate.org. We look forward to hearing with you. We look forward to partnering with you. Until then, keep taking care of yourself and keep thinking strategy. We can't wait to work with you. Have a good one. Thank you.